If your blood runs orange and blue, this is the pod for you. You're listening to Orange and Blue Bloods, hosted by EJ Stewart and Tommy Beer. Let's get to it, New York.
Channel. So let's begin with these two eventful games the Knicks played this weekend, splitting back-to-backs at home after losing the overtime heartbreaker on Saturday to the Clippers. The shorthanded Knicks rallied on Sunday to defeat the Sixers. They lost to the Clippers on Saturday. They bounced back to beat the Sixers on Sunday at MSG. The team was playing without RJ Barrett, who fell ill prior to the game. He was a late scratch. After they went down 21 points in this game, you had a big performance from the bench. You had Evan Fournier coming in off the bench. He had a season-high 17 points, hit some monster threes in the fourth quarter. Deuce McBride chipped in 13 points. He hit a monster three in the third quarter. So all-around team effort from the Knicks. And you had your starters also, the guys that one guy's an all-star, one guy you hope will be an all-star soon. Julius Randle, 24, 9, and 7. You'll take that. Jalen Brunson, 21 and 7 for him. You'll take that as well. And defense was a big key in this one for the Knicks. They held Philly to just 40% shooting from the field, 28% from three. So a wild weekend to consider. They were able to get that game on a back-to-back against Philly, who's one of the hottest teams in the league coming into that game after the disaster on Saturday, where they make that another kind of a miraculous comeback that ends with a Nicholas Batum three-pointer at the buzzer that sent it to overtime, and the Knicks folding in overtime against the Clippers. So wild weekend. Let's talk about this game on Sunday. Tommy, how was the bench able to turn it around for New York on Sunday? Because to me, that was the big key.
No question. Obi plus 17 in 13 minutes. Hartenstein plus 19 in 25 minutes. Fournier plus 28 in 23 minutes. And Deuce McBride, who all of a sudden is playing with a lot of confidence on the offensive end, plus 34 in less than 23 minutes. Just remarkable. And we'll talk about each of their specific contributions. But for me personally, I think it's important just to note how impressive it was to get this victory. For the team, for the coaching staff deserves credit. If there was, and I tweeted in the first quarter, and I thought it in the second quarter, and again in the fourth quarter, if there was ever a point in time where you don't want to say you're okay with, but you understand a team letting go of the rope, it was last night in that spot. They were, the Clippers game ended like 9:30, like 6 o'clock. The Knicks game was supposed to start at 6 o'clock, but we had to bump it back because there was a Duck Duck Goose NFL tournament. They're playing flag football and come on, a rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Anything the NFL does is going to get, precedence over a regular season NBA game. But that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that another time. 6 o'clock tip. So they're 22 hours removed from a devastating, heartbreaking home loss in overtime to the Clippers. The Knicks are without two starters, Mitchell Robinson and RJ Barrett, who was ruled out basically minutes before the opening tip after he threw up after warmups. So the three starters that were available had logged 40-plus minutes the night before. Knicks are playing the Sixers, who had won 22 of 27. That's the best record in the NBA and the second best net rating in the NBA, dating back to December. 2:30 left in the first quarter on Sunday night. Knicks, this Philly is up 33-12. Knicks had never come back from a 20-point deficit this entire season. If there was ever a time for a team to say, all right, this is a schedule loss. It sucks. It happens. Yeah. What can we do? Let's pack it up. Let's take this L and save our energy for the next battle. They didn't do that. This team doesn't do that. We can fault, and we do fault Tibbs a lot for his lack of X's and O's, all the other things. The one thing you can say about the Knicks since he arrived in New York is they come prepared. And there were a few blowouts earlier this season, and we got on them for that. But over the last few months, every single night, up big, down big, these guys compete. They fight hard defensively. So that's a reflection that, credit goes to the bench, credit to Evan Fournier for staying ready. And just this team, man, like you have to give them credit. Again, a lot of teams, NBA is a marathon, 82 games. You play on a lot of back-to-backs. You just, a lot of teams would have folded up and went home. And we've seen the Knicks do that from basically 2001 through 2009, for basically 2 decades. We saw that night, continually. This team doesn't do that. huge credit to those guys. So I just thought from that perspective, really impressive performance from the Knickerbockers.
Yeah, and in the post game, Tom Thibodeau was asked because they talked to Doc Rivers, just right before Tom Thibodeau came into the press room, and Doc Rivers said that he felt like the Knicks were the way more mentally tough, physically tough team in that game. And they asked Tibbs like, do you feel like that is really a reflection on the team you're trying to build? And I thought he had an interesting commentary on not just that, but also just understanding that this is a team that continues to have growing pains when it comes to closing games. And the fact that a team like the Sixers and Doc Rivers can look at them and say, hey, they look like a very mentally tough team. It's part of the core. So I want to play sound from Tom Thibodeau from last night talking just about that.
Yeah, no, we have a great group of guys. And so we have a lot of young guys that are in the rotation. So we're learning. And there's sometimes we're going to make some mistakes, but we want to learn from the mistakes and get better for the next time. So that's really the thing that we try to drive home, make sure the process is the right process, make sure we're working the right way. We put the necessary work into getting ready to play each game, and then there'll be some ups and downs. And so, but we know it's a long season, and just concentrate on team improvement every day. So hopefully a week from now, we're better than we are today.
And look, if they're better from a week from now than they were on Sunday, then the Knicks will be in really good shape, because that's a really good Philadelphia team that they beat, team that you said was red hot. And to do it without Mitchell Robinson being able to guard Joel Embiid for any part of the game, obviously Mitchell Robinson didn't play. Jericho Sims and Isaiah Hartenstein really made him battle. The guy lived on the free throw line because he gets every call, but still, keeping them to 31 points on 6 for 16. You'll take that, and he made almost all his free throws, but there maybe a night where he won't make as many free throws as he did in that game. So that's a winning effort from there. You kept him under his average. The guy averages like 33 points. So credit to them for that. Credit to the defense on Harden. I think they kind of made Harden purely a passer, which I think you got to do. To me, when you're playing against the Sixers, you can't have Harden get, 12, 13 assists and then add 25 points. They really kind of kept him out of the paint, kept him from being a scorer, kept him only as a passer, and really a lot of his damage happened mostly in the first half. But we talk about this bench. First of all, credit to Tibbs for deciding to stick with Deuce and Fournier as they were playing great. Quentin Grimes, I thought, actually also was playing pretty well in this game, but Fournier had gotten so hot, and surprisingly, he started getting some stops too. He was guarding Harden for stretches at fourth quarter and did a pretty decent job. So credit to him. Obviously, he stepped up big. And Deuce McBride, again, the defense, and now the shot making, which I thought was also interesting as well, because as you noted, he's starting to shoot the ball a little bit now. There was a long stretch for this season where he just was not making any shots. And one of the things Tibbs said also in the postgame was that the Knicks track their shooters, or all their players, and their shooting during practice. So they say when they look at Deuce McBride's, practice shooting numbers, they're usually really great. So he had confidence that eventually the shot would come around, which is essentially funny to me because as Knicks fans had noted, and I had noted, like whenever Deuce McBride plays anywhere but an NBA court, he shoots the ball extremely well. We're not at practice, but we did see him at Summer League. We do see him when he plays in the G League. We did see him at West Virginia. He's typically a pretty good shooter. I don't know why he struggles so much in the NBA game, but those guys, their work paying dividends, and Evan Fournier staying a professional and being able to step in, and he said he learned he was going to be playing during the national anthem. That's how late it got for him in terms of him getting understanding he was going to get a lot of playing time. So a really great win by those guys, and big shout outs to the bench.
100%. Just again, the staying ready, staying competitive, is really part of being an NBA player. You mentioned Deuce. Final 3 weeks of January, he was 2 of 16 from downtown. Through 3 games now in February, first week of February, he's 7 of 10 from long range. So, again, credit to him, staying in the gym, staying ready, keeping confidence in himself, and it's really paying dividends for the Knicks. Another thing to point out, we had kind of derided some of the Knicks wins during that 8-game winning streak, and the subsequent 5-game winning streak was over 4 teams. Last 2 weeks, the Knicks have beaten the Celtics, the number 1 seed in the East, the 76ers, the number 2 seed, the Cavs are the 5 seed. They beat Miami. So just that is another thing that New York can kind of hang their hat on. And also you mentioned defensively, Sixers coming into Sunday night, Sixers had scored more than 100 points in 29 straight games. The last time they had failed to score 100 was in November. The Knicks held them to 97 last night. So again, and on the season, New York is 20-0 when they hold the team to 108 points or less. All that being said, I just one other note on Sunday night's victory over the Sixers.
Yeah.
Every Knicks fan on the planet, they didn't just think, they knew New York was going to give back that lead somehow.
Oh,
They were up 9 with 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
They were up 10 with 2:15 left. Every Knicks fan, and the Knicks tried to give it away a couple times.
I know. Yeah.
It was, Deuce had to save one,
Yeah, he couldn't get the ball across half court.
Sauce Gardner style, looked like a D-back, tipped it back in bounds. And it just seemed like the Knicks kind of got some lucky bounces and some lucky breaks. I was thinking like maybe the basketball gods wanted to reward New York for just competing so hard, shorthanded against a better, more talented team. But to their credit, they hung on and, secured the victory.
Yeah, no, much credit to them. And I do want to give a lot of credit to Isaiah Hartenstein, too, because I know I mentioned him briefly earlier, but I think he had 14 rebounds in this game. I mean, the offensive rebound he had on one of those missed free throws where, Embiid's there and Tobias is there, and he just muscles Tobias for the ball. It might have been the most impressive rebound I've seen from any Knick this season. I know Randall's had a couple of really great offensive rebounds, but to me, like when I saw him get that rebound, I was like, they're not losing this game. Because they're playing with a level of intensity and effort that Philly is not matching right now. And I will say, like, evaluating Philly, and it's only we've only seen Philly twice or 3 times this season, twice fully healthy with Embiid and Harden playing together. A little bit of a disappointing night from them. They're a team that, before the season I picked to go to the championship. So to see them get up that early and then, blow that lead, and then, like you said, in the fourth quarter, you talk about teams letting go of the rope. Not to mention Doc saying that he felt his team just didn't show any mental toughness. They kind of let go of the rope, I felt like. Because like you said, the Knicks gave them opportunities to get back into that game 3 minutes ago, 2 minutes ago, and they just didn't seem kind of all there. Didn't seem executed. They didn't seem interested in getting back in that game. So I think a disappointing effort for Philly for sure.
I understand Philly, there are reasons to believe that they can make a deep run and go all the way to the finals. Embiid I don't know what you do with that guy. I mean, he's just incredible.
Yeah.
That Embiid Harden pick and rolls almost unstoppable. You're going to see it possession after possession after possession after possession in the postseason. When the game slows down a little bit, I don't know how you stop Embiid, but I am not a Philly guy. I'm not a believer that they can give me the Celtics, give me the Bucks. Bucks are my pick preseason. I'm still sticking with them. That's a soft underbelly. I don't trust Harden in a big spot. I don't trust Doc Rivers in a big spot. So when your point guard and your head coach, we've known about Doc Rivers. This isn't the first big lead he's blown, and he's blown a lot of big leads.
That is true.
Harden is just aesthetically, it's just hard to watch. And I've never been a Harden fan, especially at this stage of his career. If the Sixers, if I'm Philly, I get Tyrese Maxey more involved. I understand he's working his way back from injury, so he's coming off the bench. But if they're going to make if they're going to surprise people, and not even surprise people, they're a top 2 seed, 3 seed, whatever. It wouldn't be shocking to see them make a deep run. I think Maxey's going to be a guy. Maxey and Embiid will take on Maxey's role will increase, and Harden's going to give you what he's going to give you. He's great passer, underrated passer. He's always a great scorer, but he's a fantastic distributor as well. But again, that's just my feeling. I would not bet against the Sixers in a series against some of those other top teams out in the East.
Yeah, and a lot of the reasons people would feel concerned about Philly kind of, showed themselves in that game, despite how great they've played. And, like it felt like they made some offseason acquisitions. They felt really kind of improved the toughness of the team. Added PJ Tucker. D'Anthony Melton's been a great pickup for them this season. So you add some decent pieces there. It feels like they maybe need another scorer off the bench. That's maybe why Maxey, they're not like rushing him back to that starting lineup, because they may feel like, hey, we can use that offense on the bench right now. Besides him, I mean, Melton was on the bench for a while, but then after that, it's George Niang really is a scorer. That's all he really got. So they're going to need probably another scorer. But interesting game. I love these matchups. The Knicks play some of these top-end teams, and you got teams that you expect to probably see in the second round or maybe the conference finals. You You kind of get to see how the Knicks measure up. The fact that the Knicks were able to find a way to get that game, especially after the heartbreaker they had on Saturday, definitely a good win. And last note on this real quickly, because I feel like I have to play this soundbite. Evan Fournier was asked after the game if he felt like, this is a chance because of how well he played, that he could be getting more minutes and more time in the rotation. He had maybe one of the funnier answers I'd heard from any Knicks player in a post-game press conference. Here's Evan Fournier when asked if he will be getting more playing time after this big performance he had.
Performance like that against one of the best teams in the league shows Tibbs maybe, get you back in there.
I don't think so. I think he said on his 9-man rotation, it was like a fun one-night stand. And yeah, I mean, I think he said on his 9-man rotation, and we'll see. I mean, throughout the course of the season, there's always, sometimes a guy is sick, sometimes there's an injury. So, I'm sure I have another chance to play, but I don't think he's going to change anything right now.
A fun one-night stand is what Evan Fournier called that performance at Madison Square Garden against the Sixers. The honesty.
One thing I was thinking and kind of joking with a buddy on text was Leon Rose should have been on the phone with the Lakers or whoever and tried to trade before the buzzer sounded in the fourth quarter. Like, just trying to, listen, you could get this guy if you want him,
Yeah, I tweeted during that game. I was like, hey, everybody, 29 NBA teams. This is Evan Fournier. I know he's been on the bench, but this is what he's capable of. He could bring this on a night-in, night-out basis. You should be knocking down the Knicks' door. You get this guy on your roster. Get this guy in your rotation because he's a knockdown shooter. He's a playmaker. This is what you need. So all jokes aside, though, credit to Evan Fournier for stepping up and playing a really high level, considering when he's been put in that spot before, he's not played well. He's not given the Knicks anything, essentially coming off that bench when there's been injuries and things like that. So to do it in a weird way, I almost wonder if the fact that it was so last minute helped him, because you have these games sometimes where okay, RJ's out or one of these other guys on the wing are out. He knows he's going to play. He hasn't played in a while. Maybe he gets in his head. Maybe to know, right, during the national anthem, hey, you're getting in the game. You just go out there and you just play. You're not really thinking so much about the circumstances. No one asked him it because I watched his whole media availability yesterday, but I almost wonder if that maybe helped him, because that's the best he's played in that circumstance this season. And that was kind of the Fournier I thought the Knicks could get when he got moved to the bench. Yes. And then they tried it for a little bit and they did not get it. But Knicks win this one, a big win for New York. And it'll be interesting to see. I'm gonna hold the question about the playoff matches when we talk about Kyrie Irving, because I do think these Eastern matches could be interesting considering what we saw from Philly. But yeah, what you can say?
One other real quick thing on Sunday's game. I don't want to say that the best thing to happen, or the worst thing to happen for the Sixers was Barrett being ruled out, but RJ was awful Saturday night, and his plus minus over the last 3 weeks has been terrible. Worst in the NBA over the last 10 games. Knicks have been outscored by 84 points in the 300 plus minutes RJ has been on the floor over this 10-game stretch. So again, I'm certainly not going to say the Knicks are a better team if RJ is sick, but a little bit less RJ led to Fournier, who was knocking down shots, a little bit a bigger, a healthier amount of field goal attempts for RJ Grimes, for Quentin Grimes, who made the most of it. Deuce got some extra playing time. Part of that was because he was playing well, it was rewarded thusly. But again, the RJ issue is rearing its ugly head a little bit, and he has not been playing well. So that may have worked. Maybe a night off worked in his favor, and it seemed to work in the Knicks' favor last night.
Yeah, it was tough because he had the great game against Miami, and then he kind of followed that up with a stinker against the Clippers. What I will say is, I did think it was interesting. We talked about this before. Tibbs went with Brunson playing with those backups, and the backups played great, as we've mentioned a bunch. And Tibbs has put RJ in that spot, and RJ against in the Miami game he's played okay, but we talk about that plus minus, and the bench is getting killed for most of the season. Maybe it's time for someone else to get that spot in terms of if it's Randall, or if it's obviously on Brunson. But that I thought was interesting to note. Those guys played much better with Brunson running the show with them than with RJ.
we had been asking Tibbs to stagger the minutes for Brunson
Right.
and Randall, so one of them was on the floor to start the fourth. Maybe his hand was forced because of no RJ, but it certainly worked well, and that was the key stretch of the game. Knicks, a one possession game entering the fourth quarter. You assume the Sixers are finally going to, start to dominate here and put these, scrappy Knicks away. At the exact opposite happens. Obi 3, McBride 3. Fournier a pair of threes, and then Brunson and Randall to close the show. So well done.
Yeah. If Tibbs makes the adjustment of moving IQ in for Brunson earlier in the first quarter, that would allow you to avoid the three small guards out there, and you can keep Brunson out there, and then pair him with Grimes or somebody else, and have Deuce out there, and you're fine. So I think that's something the Knicks could definitely have to explore after that big one.